Hello, everybody. It is I, Arjun. I'm here with my frequent guest host, Serp, and we're here to do something that I think a lot of you have been wanting us to do for a long time, and that is rip the sequel, or as I call it, a reboot trilogy, a new one, and just kind of talk about the state of things, like what the hell happened after Disney wrote Star Wars, bought Star Wars, and just kind of the ongoing disaster. So, did you want to start off, maybe?
Yeah, so I just wanted to start out with
Oh, actually,
um
sorry to interrupt you. So, you saw Rise of Skywalker, was it 2 weeks ago?
I saw Rise of Skywalker the opening day and then Saturday because I refused to watch it. I finally sat down and watched Last Jedi. Um I have a review of Rise of Skywalker up. I think you've done like 3 or 4 reviews of Rise of Skywalker now. It
I
seems that I have the most positive review on the entire internet of Rise of Skywalker.
I
Ironically,
actually I agreed with most of what you said. I
hmm
just hate it more than you. It might just be that I had worse motion sickness than you did.
I sat at the very back and I like knew what was going to happen. There was warnings all over when I went in about the movie giving people motion sickness.
Like, what the hell? Like, that's not a good side. Would they have to warn you that the movie physically hurts you? Um, so you thought that you thought Last Jedi was worse, right?
Yes, I thought well, here's the thing. Rise of Skywalker is incredibly incompetently made,
Uh-huh.
but it's not viscerally offensive.
Right.
Last Jedi is actually maybe even more well made than like I would say it's more well made than the prequels, if not some of the original series films.
It
From
was
like
very
editing,
like the production values were very good. I will give it that.
yes, like the production value is outstanding, and like editing and visual effects are outstanding.
Hmm.
But like, oh my god, the movie is a parody it's just this parody of the entire franchise, and it's because of that it's just like completely offensive in every way to a fan of the franchise.
Um, like we were talking earlier, it was really funny because we both had the exact same AVGN quote. That would have been kind of good, and that was obviously not what they were going for.
But the problem with that is that's not what they were going for.
Yeah, because there is some issues. Like there's a couple moments in the Last Jedi where I was very naive, but I was just desperate at that point, where I was like, "Oh, this would be
The
a good
throne
movie."
room scene.
Yeah, where I'm like, "Oh, he's like, take my hand. It's time to let all things down." I'm like, this is fucking brilliant. This whole thing has been a deconstruction. They're gonna join forces. It's gonna go in a completely different. It's like, no, I'm not gonna join you because you're a meanie. I'm just like, fuck.
Also the dark side hole or whatever.
Yeah, because I thought she was gonna go there, and that was gonna be like her challenge. Because you know how Luke fought the Vader clone that was
Hmm.
himself. There was
Hmm.
that. Like there was a
The
lot of stuff.
final battle between Kylo and Luke.
Yeah, I had said it would have been cool if he had have done like an Obi-Wan, where like if you strike me down, Kylo, I will become more powerful than you can possibly imagine, and then like he
He
strikes him
kinda
down.
did.
No, no, but like he becomes one with the Force, like with Obi Wan, and like his robes just fall to the ground. I thought that would have been like a legit good, um, like reference.
Can I say something? Maybe I actually wrote an outline
Okay,
because
sure, go ahead.
but like this is just going off the cuff for a second. We're talking about a franchise where you're shooing in feminism, where you have those two characters up there, where it's so far right wing that it has physiognomy changes due to them being evil. Like evil is a physiognomical change in this franchise,
Hmm.
and you're going to like shoehorn all this like left wing shit. It's just very unfitting. Like that actually makes me really upset too.
It's not like there weren't a lot of. I'm sorry if this is a cringy thing to say. It's not like there wasn't a lot of like strong female characters in the extended universe. I mean,
Hmm.
like you had
Yeah,
Leia.
I think Leia as a strong female character is very earned.
Uh huh.
And then in these sequel movies, I haven't seen the Clone Wars TV series, or at least as an adult. So I know that there's that orange girl squid head thing. I don't know in it.
Ashoka.
Um, yeah, I know that it's considered very good, and I just haven't gotten around to it.
I've never been a big Clone Wars fan, but yeah.
Oh, okay. I have a friend who is.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, s- basically, like those characters are earned. Why Rey is just like the shoe, like every single thing in like Last Jedi. If you notice, every single general is female in that movie. Every single admiral, every single officer is female
Versus
in the
General
Last
White
Jedi.
Pride. Literally General White Pride.
It's
But
just
like,
very. It comes across as very inauthentic.
yeah, because like you have just some more EU characters. You have Winter, who's like Leia's best friend slash bodyguard, who like is one of the Rebel Alliance's best convert ops. There's like a lot of like I guess you could say like earned strong female characters who aren't like gratuitous. Now Mara
Hmm.
Jade is a massive Mary Sue. She isn't quite as big as Rey because she's not like the central character, but Rey is the biggest Mary Sue I think I've ever seen.
I
It's
think May Ray there's so like when you create a template for something, right? You can be a Mary Sue or be whatever that template is and like check out 7 out of 10.
yeah,
Ray checks every single box
and then
in
like
Mary
even
Sue.
like the obscure ones,
Hmm.
like it really made me appreciate Anakin and Luke a lot more after
Hmm.
having seen Rey, because like, and you just saw the Last Jedi. Did she kick Kylo Ren's ass in the Last Jedi?
Yes.
Because
He never loses a single fight to him in the entire
because
three movies.
okay, so I'm not crazy when I think that because like my
Well,
memory.
first of all, Luke doesn't do any training. She trains Luke.
Now it's open for debate. I was actually looking it up in preparation for this. How long Luke trained with Yoda, and it's between.
According to Legends canon, isn't it 3 years? Isn't there 3 years in between
No, no,
Empire
no.
and,
That he went and
and
trained with Yoda.
Return? Yeah, isn't there 3 years in between the
Yeah, but he
events of the
didn't train
Empire
with
Strikes Back?
Yoda. I don't know if he went back to train with Yoda before Return of the Jedi. But like when he trained on
Did
Dagobah.
you invite somebody else?
No, did somebody else?
Yeah, they
Oh,
did.
okay. Sorry.
I just kind of want to be
Oh, sorry. I didn't
sorry.
realize other people were trying to come
Yeah, no, it's okay.
in. But what was I thinking of again? Losing my train of thought. Yeah. So Yoda, he trained with Yoda. It's the range I've seen is between like a month and 6 months.
Hmm.
The timeline's not very clear, and then there's some like nonsense about time dilation. Uh, but there's that. I think it's canon that Obi-Wan was training him through through as a Force ghost in between movies. Luke was like actively practicing his lightsaber skills, and he was a keep in mind he was also an ace rebel pilot. So like he was very experienced, and he got his ass kicked like in the first movie, and like Vader beat the living shit out of him. Um, he only beat Vader in the end because of the power of love. Vader probably could have killed him easily if he wanted to.
Well, I mean, if you use the expanded universe, Sidious kicked his ass.
Yeah, Sidious kicked his ass. So like in Luke's like the fact that Rey has never failed at anything she's done is to me like Anakin like is the chosen one, but he gets his ass kicked repeatedly. Like he gets his arm ripped off by Dooku.
He loses to Obi-Wan.
Yeah, he loses to Obi-Wan. He gets like captured in Attack of the Clones. But I can't recall like Rey ever failing at anything.
Here, I'll be back in a second. I'm going to grab a beer. This is a pretty heady conversation. I need it.
Yeah, so like some people say Anakin, I guess, is the Mary Sue because he's like the chosen one. I don't really have an issue with chosen one or like people who are really powerful. Like by that logic, you could say like Palpatine's a Mary Sue because Palpatine is like absurdly strong, but he's interesting despite that. And to me, part of not being a Mary Sue is like failing, and Palpatine's schemes fail all the time. So, yeah. Oh, okay, so someone's saying in the chat,
Okay.
Han saved
Sorry
Luke
about
in the
that.
first. Yeah, because Luke was about to die in the first movie until Han showed up and saved his ass. That's very true.
I'm back. Should I start with what I was going to my outline?
Sure, go ahead.
I actually wrote out I've decided to start reading a lot of EU books and start playing some games. So I have about 70 odd pages in Darth Plagueis right now, and that's the first.
What do you think?
Um.
Uh-oh.
So yeah, it's not against the narrative of the book or the characters so far, but there's so many different races and planets.
Mm-hmm.
And when it refers to a different alien species, it often uses the alien's pronouns. So sometimes it's hard for me to follow that which alien is which.
Okay,
because
that's fair.
Other than that, I think it's very well written, and Darth Plagueis is the depiction of the Sith so far is very interesting. It's hard for me to follow because of how well the expanding universe and the different races or aliens, if you will, are fleshed out.
Yeah. Would you agree?
Just kind of like what do you call it? It's like you need to know more. It's not very entry level, if that makes sense.
Yeah, would you agree though with Trellian and me that it has really good vocabulary?
No, the prose is excellent.
It's like legit. I know we're not supposed to say 'cause it's a Star Wars book. It's legit one of the best written books I've ever read.
I don't understand why you would say, because the thing is that I know that I haven't read it yet, and I know that the Thrawn trilogy is according to you, it has like flaws like plot armor or like Thrawn just dies. And you just feel cheated at the end and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you have to realize that the Thrawn trilogy at this point is as popular as like Dune or like Lord of the Rings in terms of a novel series.
Yeah.
And that the Star Wars novels, there's over 300 or something crazy like that. But
yeah.
they are. Some of them should be considered amongst some of the best science fiction novels ever written.
Right.
I don't think I'm trying to be hyperbole. They are like very influential and very, very widely read.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're just jumping around kind of right now, but that's the strength of George Lucas, really, is that he had LucasArts and he was able to expand his movies across from film into animation, into video games, into books, into comic books, and it all worked together simultaneously. And that's the beauty of it, that it was very multimedia and it worked very well. There's great movies, great books, great comic books, great video games.
Like, if you look at the vast majority of licensed games are complete garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're just...
While Star Wars games are 80 to 90% of them are good, if not great.
Like, even the ones that are, like, not good, well, at least in my opinion, aren't, like, mass-produced garbage. They're just a game that happened to not be good. as opposed
Hmm.
to like we just need to rush out a shitty. Because I mean,
Well,
if
this
you
is going to sell no matter how shitty it is because people just want to play as that.
want a like a movie game,
Yeah, like a Terminator game, which can be like really awful, right? Or like various movie games.
right? I mean, like we were talking about this the other day. Like, let's look at some of the Star Wars. Okay, we have KOTOR 1, KOTOR 2, generally considered to have like revitalized Western RPGs single handedly. Um, Basically, everybody loves it. It was one of the first games that spawned the whole "Are video games art" discussion. So we had that. We have the X-wing versus Tie Fighter, which I never played, but is regarded as being like one of the greatest uh,
Flight
whatchamacallit
simulation
flights.
games.
Yeah, then you have all three Rogue Squadron games, which are also good.
I
Uh,
really, really liked Rogue Squadron when I was a kid,
then
or
you
I
have
really, really like it. The second one on GameCube, I played a lot.
yeah, and then there was a third one.
I played some of that, but not as much as the second one.
So there was that. Shadows of the Empire was a lot of fun. Um,
What's the one? What's the Dune ripoff one? That one
oh,
is actually a really good first-person shooter.
the Dark Forces,
I think it's
Jedi
yeah, it is Dark
Academy.
Forces. Dark
Yeah.
Forces, and then there's a Jedi Academy games, Jedi Knight. I haven't played it, but I heard Republic Commando is really good.
Empire at
Star
War.
Wars Battlefront. I mean, I've started playing that with people every Sunday for like a month now.
Empire at War.
Empire at War. I tried to because I've been trying to get into it more after I got so disgusted. I played. I tried to learn how to play the
Empire at
Galactic
War
Conquest mode in
is a
Empire at War.
very steep learning curve.
I noticed that today because I did the entire tutorial and it was very boring. And then I tried to play the Galactic Conquest and I still had no idea what I was doing.
It's we can talk about this some other time, but it's just because it really is like a three dimensional. I get that the map's flat, but you can be attacked from any angle at once, so it's just very hard to conceptualize. Let's see, someone's saying Jedi Starfighter. Um,
I
yeah,
haven't played Fallen Order, but I will say it does look good. It's supposed to be Star Wars Dark Souls.
Force Unleashed was cheesy, but it was fun. Yeah, so there's like a fuck ton of like really
The
good
Age of
games.
Empires 2 ripoff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that was okay. I've never played
No,
it.
it's pretty fun. It's
Like,
just Age of Empires 2 with you know, Star Wars visuals.
no, I haven't read any of the comics. What's interesting is I
You've read or at least listened to Dark Empire.
yeah, which was kind of cool because one of the cool things about the Star Wars audiobooks is they do them like they have very high production values.
Hmm.
So like there'll be blaster sounds, there's like music, there's often multiple voice actors. Like for Dark Empire, they got Billy D. Williams to come back and voice Londo,
Hmm.
and that was really cool. Um, the narrator they have for Darth Plagueis is really good. Um, so they did that. They also did, interestingly, a lot. Most of the games have novelizations. Um, what was I thinking of? Like the Dark Forces trilogy I read, which was pretty cool. Um, and that actually was interesting because that links into some stuff from Darth Bane. I feel like one of the things that they tried to consciously do with the EU is if something got mentioned, they later tried to tie it in.
Well, here's what me and you have talked about. I'm just gonna call it Legends and Disney Canon because
Mm-hmm.
now there's two EUs.
Yeah.
So in the Legends canon, the thing is that there is there's less continual disagreement in the entirety of Legends than there is between sequels in the main movie series of Disney.
Like, pretty much, like, because would you agree? agree with me that they retconned Snoke like multiple times over the course of the three
I thought you
movies?
counted and it was like 5 times.
Yeah, they kept doing it, and like even they changed like the entry on Wikipedia after Rise of Skywalker. Like it was something completely different, and it's like, wasn't the point of them nuking everything to make a like centralized unified canon if they couldn't like keep it straight within a single movie? Like there's continuity errors within Rise of Skywalker. I wish I had a
Well, there's like there's like Ray, I need to know it. I need to tell you something, and that doesn't even get followed on. Like that plot point is never even like fulfilled.
and I maintain Chewbacca died.
No, Chewbacca died. There's no visual indication that he didn't die whatsoever.
So like the explanation that I heard is that Chewbacca dying tested poorly with focus groups, so they edited it out at the last minute, and they just kind of forgot about editing the rest of it out. So I think like what happened with Rise of Skywalker is they were editing it literally until like the day it was sent out.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't
Well,
think.
I've heard that too. My roommate followed all the edits and everything the week before, all the leaks on like TV or whatever, and it was just like the whole entire week or few days before the movie came out. He kept showing me like all these scenes from Rise of Skywalker. And he's like, "Can you believe this?" Because I think part of the reason that I came out with a more positive review is that I knew every single stupid thing that happened beforehand, and I anticipated laughing.
Like an example of what I'm talking about with no continuity is like when like Palpatine's plan for Rey and Kylo. It's like, okay, I want Rey to be my new body, so that's why I'm going to get Kylo Ren to kill Rey.
Well, didn't we try to work through this?
Yeah, we did. I'm just
this was like half an hour or something where it's just like,
you and
okay,
I.
Serp. Yeah, it's just like, okay, Serp. That's not what the movie said. You just inserted that from Dark Empire.
Or you just made something up because like it made more sense. Like it was really really fun. Like you and I, it felt like we watched completely different movies.
Yes, like when because you asked me to give you the plot and then you gave me the plot and then they didn't match.
Like you had thought that Palpatine and the First Order were in an all-out war for the duration of the movie.
Yes, I thought that Palpatine and the First Order were at war during the movie off screen.
And like
and that Kylo was like fighting the First Order. And then he got cooed by like General Pride or whatever.
By
the
General
fuck his
White
name
Pride.
Was. Yeah, General White Pride.
Okay, like they turned the MacGuffins up to 11. Like, how big a MacGuffin was the fucking like control tower?
I don't even remember that. Like
No,
the whole movie was MacGuffin, the MacGuffin, the MacGuffin.
Okay, I think to me the single most absurd MacGuffin was that fucking dagger.
The dagger where she stands at the exact right spot or whatever. Like there's only one spot in the entire world that you could stand on where it works.
But it was an ancient Sith dagger that you needed to use the wreck of the Death Star to find the ancient so no, but like so the Sith from like 1,000 years ago knew that the Death Star was going to crash on Endor in exactly that position.
Also, massive continuity error because if the Death Star crashed on Endor, it would have killed all the Ewoks. Because it would have been like much bigger than the extinction of the dinosaur. Like it would have annihilated all. It
was the size of a fucking moon.
And in Return of the Jedi, it's disintegrated to atoms, basically, or incredibly small pieces.
Okay, but like, do you get what that I think was like might have been the most retarded thing in the movie was the fucking like dagger. And it's like fucking Exegol. Like, who the fuck were they? Who were the Sith Eternal The Sith Eternal weren't even like mentioned by name. Like just the random guys.
Wait, that's only on like Wikipedia?
Yeah, I don't think it says Sith Eternal anywhere in the
Like
movie.
somebody on Wikipedia just stole like a script and they're like, "Oh, okay, Sith Eternal."
Yes. So like I mean that raises other questions. I'm not trying to nitpick here, but like did Palpatine found the Sith cult before or after he died?
Well, no, there's multiple theories because the movie isn't clear to what the fuck. So some people think that Palpatine was because it's a different continuity. Some people think that Palpatine was Darth Plagueis, or in fact the founder of the Sith, and that he was just sending out clones the entire time. Like Palpatine.
What?
Yes, I'm not kidding.
What?
There's a theory that Palpatine was the original Sith, and he lived on Biss or whatever it's called. Is that the planet?
Exegol.
Exegol, and he lived on Exegol for thousands of years, and that he created a Palpatine clone and Snook clones to influence the rest of the galaxy, and he lived outside of the galaxy and founded the Sith. Okay, so that's a theory.
You know what else is weird?
Palpatine that died in the in Return of the Jedi was a clone. Then there's an alternate theory which like follows Dark Empire, where it's like he's a clone and he's trying to like have a child between Kylo and Rey, and he's going to be that child or something. And then there's another theory that he's not a clone. He just fell down the shaft and lived. And he's just on life support.
So he's
and the movie doesn't state anywhere that he's a clone.
No, they say clone.
Do they?
They mention the word clone like in passing.
I don't, but not to him, do they?
You know what the other weird thing is? Because Korriban is in the new canon. So like Korriban is the homeworld with the Sith. But like so does the rule of two, did they get rid of that? Or like also like what was the deal with Palpatine going, we will finally get revenge on the Jedi and build a galaxy-wide empire? Like you mean like what you did in like episode 3? Like it's literally the exact same plan again. Also, what the fuck was up with I'm all the Jedi and you're all the Sith?
I don't know.
Like
I just don't know.
Also, you know what else is Mary Sue? How Rey was able to heal Kylo of a fatal wound, and it didn't even like wear her out. But Kylo
had to sacrifice his life.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to completely change gears and go to my actual outline?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so basically, before Disney acquired the license, do you remember the insanity and hysteria of prequel hate?
Yep.
And do you think it's just like a Gen Xer thing?
Yeah, I think like part of it is just nostalgia. Like if you go back and look at like the original movies, like there's shit within it, like
well, a lot of boomers or people that saw the movie when they were adults really hate Ewoks. Or
I'm not saying I don't love the movies. I'm just saying that a lot of the shit people accuse the prequels of having, they also have in the original series.
Well, the Ewoks, a lot of boomers like hate Jedi or think it's less good because of that. Also, Jedi, it always bothered me, the editing in Jedi, because the very emotional in the entire conclusion to the series is like take second seat to the explosion of the second Death Star. In the editing, the death of Darth Vader and his self-sacrifice is like interspersed with the very side story of the second Death Star being exploded.
Right.
And that always bothered me when I watched it.
That is maybe my favorite scene in cinema is Vader's death scene.
Well, no, I've asked a lot of people, and a lot of people say that, is that the fulfillment of Vader turning good again. Well, okay, let's just jump ahead in my outline because I think the Disney movies completely ruin everything
Yeah.
by because the entire so Star Wars is like a science fantasy or fantasy movie with sci-fi outside
Yeah,
of
it's
it,
more
but that's
fantasy
not
than
the
sci-fi.
core of it.
Yeah.
But the core of it is a family saga, right? The genre is family saga with the trappings of fantasy, with the aesthetics of science fiction. The story is a family saga, and the prequels add to it being a family saga. If you take the Skywalkers and you don't have them be a main character, you ruined the entire movie series. And that's what bothered me so much when I saw the Force
Well,
Awakens.
I mean, but the thing is, like, there's no reason why they couldn't have done like a different story in the Star Wars universe and had it been good. But they did an abortion, so it's like kind of, sort of a sequel, but kind of, sort of new characters. So like the
It's
old
like
characters
a
just
sequel and a reboot at the same time.
so they're just kind of awkwardly hanging out. Because I mean, there's lots of other, like, there's Kotor, there's Darth Bane, there's there's all kinds of other stories you could
I don't
tell.
so if I was going to direct this movie, if I had to,
Yeah.
I don't think you should have made these movies. I would have set it as I would have recreated what is the alien race?
The
The alien
cheese.
race that invades the galaxy?
Oh, Yuzon Vong.
I would have had the Yuzong Fong invasion after there's been a republic that's been established for 40 years. It's very peaceful. Maybe I'd have an Imperial remnant there just for like the aesthetics and the toys and stuff.
Hmm.
The final, like I would follow the Yuzon Fong and have the grandchildren of Han and Leia fight them, and have Luke as like an Obi-Wan character, and that he would be a very positive and enduring character, not some fucking crotchety old man.
And then just have like an apocalyptic.
Yeah, just show like an apocalyptic, like just use the fullness of your special effects and make the Yuzong Vong like the Vorg times 10 or something, just like annihilating planets, completely destroying everything, right?
That also would have been like a change of like, that would have been something different from like
Mm-hmm.
just doing the exact same thing over again. I mean, I think
That's
that's another.
my idea if you're going to make a movie sequel series.
Mhm.
Instead of recreating an incoherent republic and recreating an incoherent empire to fight. Sorry, I just cut off your train of thought.
Oh no, go ahead. I was done.
Well, I mean, something we talked about is we tried to understand how the politics. It's never explained in the entirety of the movies how the politics during the sequel series works.
Right.
It's just because, from my understanding, the First Order exists outside of it's in the Outer Rim, or even beyond that in the unknown region, is just this remnant of the Empire that's at peace with the Republic. Is that what you got?
You mean based on like me cheating and looking at the other stuff, or like what I would get just from
That's
watching
what
the
I thought
movies?
from seeing the movies. That's
Um,
what I thought from seeing the
is it
Force
even
Awakens.
established that it's in the unknown regions in the
I don't
movies?
even know, dude. I don't know.
I don't think it is. I don't think. Let me just look up the
Well, I
opening.
know because I've been watching videos about it. Is that they completely changed the map in the Disney series.
Yeah.
Like the map is completely different.
Um, no, the First Order is not. It just says the First Order has risen from the ashes of the Empire. Although I think the Imperial Remnant still exists, and they say like Disney says it's within the core and deep core.
That's impossible. Then that would mean that the rebels lost.
Um, although Coruscant is part of the New Republic, but not its capital.
That's just retarded.
So no, but like you get what I mean. Like, okay, so is the Imperial Remnant based in the Outer Rim or the core? Like they don't border each other. like none of it makes any like, and this is just based. This is not like me nitpicking. This is not me saying like, oh, they got this person's name wrong or they got like this minor. This is like one of the two major factions in your story, and you can't even tell me like where they're located. Like no, like they can't.
Well, no, I mean like the other major faction is worse because in Last Jedi, they call the Resistance the Republic. They confuse the names in the dialogue of the Last Jedi.
I like how you thought it was Coruscant that got blown up because I thought it was Coruscant too.
Yeah, well, it's very like it looks exactly like Coruscant.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's people watching on top of a massive skyscraper in the midst of an endless sea of skyscrapers, watching their planet be destroyed. What the fuck else am I supposed to think?
Right.
So anyway, like Red Letter Media made film reviews which are larger than the actual movies, attacking the prequel trilogy, and now they say that like the sequel movies are good, or
I haven't watched it because like I frankly just can't really take it. But some people have told me they said it's good, and other people have told me that it's like
they say it's like a generally positive mixed bag.
Yeah, something like that.
They like and they constantly call back on like how shitty the prequels are, and they're like it's a mixed bag, but at least it's not the prequels and stuff like that.
Yeah, but like why were the prequels okay? So the prequels had like some dumb shit in it, but like
the prequels added story. The prequels created world building.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the comparison I've been making for a while. I haven't read through the books. I've only seen the movies to Dune. But if you compare George Lucas as a filmmaker to Frank Herbert as a novelist, are the Star Wars 4 out of 6 or 4.5 out of 6 being good comparable to the 6 books that Frank made? Are 4 out of 6 or 5 out of 6 good? Like, isn't there some of the books that Frank Herbert wrote aren't necessarily enjoyable, but they add to the lore?
Yeah, I mean, and once again, this is kind of I'm unique in that I don't mind the Dune prequels, which are probably more hated than the Star Wars prequels. But I thought they added a lot, even if you didn't really like the plot. They added a lot of shit. I mean, the prequels. Also, I thought we had a very satisfying character arc for Anakin.
Well, like I said, the entire movie is a family saga centered around Anakin as the main character.
Like, does George Lucas kind of suck at writing dialogue? Yeah, he can. It can be a little rough.
Well, the problem is that, to be fair, again, to Red Letter Media, the problem is that George Lucas is bad at writing dialogue, and you have nobody to challenge him on dialogue and editing that dialogue.
Right.
Whatever. Okay. You take that out from I haven't read them yet. Have you read the novelizations?
No, I haven't actually.
From my understanding, the novelizations of the prequel trilogy are far and above the movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like each novelization of every prequel movie is just very outstanding, very high quality.
Right.
Anyway, I mean, 15 years after Revenge of the Sith, isn't Revenge of the Sith considered co-equal with the original movies and considered one of the best science fiction films ever made?
No, there's people who like to shit on it because they don't like Attack of the Clones or the Phantom Menace. And
okay, I'm going to say Phantom Menace is not a very pleasant viewing experience and is quite boring.
Yeah.
Every time I see it, it falls flat and it's boring.
It doesn't offend you, though.
It's not... I don't come across angry or offended. I just come across it being boring, and I am like, oh, why didn't I just skip that one? But Attack of the Clones is good in the way a movie like Independence Day or Armageddon is good.
I've watched it like a dozen times just because
It's
I
a
watched
fun
it with
action
Son.
movie. Like it's not a bad movie. It's just not to the same quality as the original trilogy and Revenge of the Sith. If that makes sense.
Right, it did add a lot of cool stuff though.
Mm-hmm.
Like we got to see all like just seeing a bunch of Coruscant was really cool. Because keep in mind, we had no idea really before the prequels what Coruscant was even like. Um, that's like all stuff it mainly added. I remember if you like in the Thrawn trilogy, they pronounce it Coruscant.
Mm-hmm.
Or and before that, they just call it Imperial Center. I forget when they actually start calling it Coruscant. But a lot of those things just wouldn't have existed. Um, yeah.
Have you seen the original cut of Star Wars?
No.
Okay, I'm skeptical of the idea. I think at worst it would have been as good as David Lynch's Dune.
Why? What was different about it?
They just had it so it was very unevenly paced because um all the all of Luke's friends who become later on become pilots in the rebellion are introduced, and there's like a lot of scenes with Luke with his friends on Tatooine before the movie starts, so it would have been much longer and very unevenly paced.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, something that's very ironic about Star Wars is that Lucas created Lucasfilm, and in a sense, that was one of the greatest victories in independent filmmaking. And now it's turned into the greatest corporate schlock ever. Don't you think that it's funny
Yeah.
that George Lucas was this guy that was completely like the director should have control? It's about the art, and then he sold it off to Disney, and now it's completely movie by committee. I don't
Yeah.
think I've ever seen any movie more by committee than The Force Awakens.
What about Rogue One?
Oh, Rogue One is like, okay, we gotta include everything that everybody loves that call back to the first movie. We gotta have Darth Vader like go ham and like kill everybody. We gotta like Rogue One is just like, oh, you liked your first movie? Well, I'm just going to put everything you like in the first movie in this, and just like the whole movie kind of like it's like a movie that's leaning on a crutch, and that crutch is your nostalgia for the
It's just
first
fan
movie.
service. I'll give it one thing:
Mm-hmm.
it's less boring than some of the other sequels.
All right, Disney movies.
Yeah,
Okay, I haven't seen Solo, so I
Solo's
would
really
rank.
bad.
Is Solo the worst of the five, or is it?
It's very different. It's kind of like a quirky quark movie.
So it's like a Marvel movie, but like even worse.
Yes.
Do you remember when The Force Awakens came out and you were like the only person that hated it?
Yes.
I remember distinctly, like, I went to see it in the movie theater with my dad, and my dad hated it, and then a week later he said it was great.
Right.
And, like, a bunch of people were like, this movie's really good. And I just remember thinking it was just a complete abomination.
Mm-hmm.
And now I just have this very, like, the vindication was already building up when Last Jedi came out, and now like there is nobody. I think I'm the most positive review of Rise of Skywalker on the entire internet.
You
There is
might.
nobody who's positively reviewed it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just wall to wall. This is garbage.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty rough. So did you have anything else on your notes you'd like to bring up?
We talked about this a little bit. Do you want to talk about the future of the series?
Yeah, I mean, do you think it's fucked? Like, didn't they not make that much money? Or it seems like this
From what
movie's
I've
kind of
heard,
flopping.
is that the movies that Disney has not made the money back from its original investment. It is still in the hole.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, numerous reviewers and all the actors in the movie said they never want to make another Star Wars movie again. They've stopped making the side movies like Rogue One and Solo.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't. I mean, the other thing is that these novels and these comic books and everything in the Disney canon are completely like everything is set in the original series or in the Clone Wars, usually in between them, and nothing is set in the sequel series.
Hmm.
And all the novels, as you said, I haven't read any of the novels. You read Thrawn and Tarkin, right?
Yeah.
Aren't all the novels like Aftermath and all that? They're basically to explain the plot holes and discontinuities between the sequels.
Yeah, and even then they like don't they make them worse. Another issue is because they're trying to make things like less edgy and more like I don't know, like PC and sanitized. It's interesting because they've revoked a lot of the human centrism and like speciesism of the empire because it's like my guess is it's too like hard for the special snowflakes they're reaching out to really uh
I also think like the themes are too like difficult.
oh
Like
sorry
Disney
1 second.
intentionally dumbs it down.
Yep. Will DeMarco wants a shout out from us because it's his birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday, man.
Happy birthday.
Oh, the themes are too difficult. Yeah.
Like I think the themes and having politics and stuff is too difficult for Disney. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
too highbrow,
Yep.
so they just don't include them.
Mm-hmm.
But
Uh,
I mean, all the TV shows and the video games they made, none of them are set in the sequels. Like
uh,
the whole Disney sequel thing is completely running on fumes from like boomer nostalgia of including these old 60 and 70-year-old actors and shoehorning them into these movies. Like they can't do action scenes, so then they have like these very unappealing younger actors who are doing characters that have no personality. So there's just like, you know, really old Princess Leia talking, and then really old crotchety mean Luke talking, and then Chewbacca, and then a scene of Ray or Poe doing something. Like it completely leans on the crutch of having the older characters, which are unable to do anything because they're so old. It just comes across as this. It just comes across as very unable to stand on its own, and just a completely like almost exploitative of having like 70-year-old actors try to be in an action movie
mm-hmm.
and do a role they can't do.
Yeah, I mean it's just I don't know. I just think it's kind of funny what you pointed out, which I hadn't actually realized that Finn is the most likable character.
Well, no, I mean that's been a thing for a while. Is that Finn is both the most interesting and most likable character, and you still like he's like a horrible character and you hate him.
Right. Like he's just such yeah, like but like all the other characters are just massive douchebags. Like Ray's an asshole.
Well, doesn't
Poe's
Poe nearly kill Finn at some point in Force Awakens?
yeah, Poe
And
is a
he's supposed
piece
to
of
laugh it
shit.
off.
Anakin's an no sorry, about Anakin. Leia's an asshole, Luke's an asshole. Han just doesn't give a fuck. I love how much uh what's his name doesn't want to be there. Harrison Ford doesn't want to be there. Like it's amazing how
He
much
didn't even cut his hair in in the what's the new in the ninth
Rise of
one?
Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker.
Like it's so obvious. Like he just didn't want to be there, and it's so funny. Um, Lando, how did Lando?
Charlemagne says he likes Kylo Ren. I think Kylo Ren is the worst and most pathetic character of them all.
Really interesting.
Kylo is. I called him when I saw it. I called him Emo Vader.
Mm-hmm.
I think that his design is complete garbage and laughable. And
The actor is a fucking weird dude.
Well, he is completely unintimidating. I'm sorry if Adam Driver is good. Is that he's very ugly. He just looks really weird. He has a very odd physiognomy. And like his character has no reason to exist and no motivation
and
whatsoever.
His voice is really bad too.
So my hope is that they'll allow legends and they'll just put legends or put in the first page where they do copyright and everything. They'll say legends. And they'll allow Legends comic books and Legends novels that continue, and even maybe video games that continue to exist.
Yeah.
Because the expanded universe is basically going to be dead at this point if they don't do that.
By heat death, I think they still allow new copies of things to be made.
Well, so when I bought Plagius, it was a newly printed version of it. Mm-hmm. And it has a banner over the top that says Legends. Yeah. If you go on Amazon, most of the older books you can still buy, and they're newly printed, and they have a banner that says Legends on the top. Mm-hmm. But they don't allow there to be new comic books and new novels set within Legends.
I think there was one that came out that they allowed.
Okay. But I think it was a comic book and it was a special anniversary thing or something.
Yeah. The only other thing is the Old Republic, which is still in Legends.
Yeah, but isn't that a continuing, ongoing game?
Yeah.
So I don't know if it counts.
No, it doesn't. I'm just out of interest.
Because of the way that they've treated these novels, they've killed one of the most profitable novel series in science fiction now, for no reason other than pure vanity.
Did all like the EU novels sell well?
Yeah, I think like the Thrawn books when they came out were the best-selling books in America.
They probably sold a lot of copies over time.
Well, they sold millions of copies.
Right.
Like, it's extremely profitable, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So, if they don't do that, they're going to kill off the fan base. Because this is something Ryan Falk, because he made an hour-long video about this, too. And it doesn't... where he talked about Last Jedi, and that was like a year ago or something, where when the X-Files came out after the first season, it didn't do very well in terms of ratings, but it had this large online cult following. So because of the cult following, they chose to continue it. And then it became a huge success. With Star Wars Legends, you would think because of the massive cult following that Legends have, that they would say, why don't we just allow people to make comic books and books in this? In their hubris, they said, no, fuck that. We're going to force all these comic books and books, which have this huge following, we're going to pull out, and we're only going to have it be our Disney continuity. And all the books and comic books are just like ways to explain the plot holes and inconsistencies between their new movies. Or to try and take Thrawn and shove him back into the new continuity for being a popular character.
Isn't that like a sign of desperation? I think that reeks of desperation.
What do you mean?
Putting Thrawn back in?
Yeah.
I think also putting Palpatine back in, like, reeks of
well,
desperation.
It's like a man drowning in water, and he's like throwing his arms up after Last Jedi, and he's like, "What do I do?" And it's like, "Oh, I'll just grab the rope of Dark Empire and just try and make a last movie
No,
like a
because there are people
bust."
who will say the only good thing about the prequels, which I don't agree with, but I get why they say it was Ian McDiarmid. Um,
Well, no, I thought when I watched the new movie, I thought that it was just like grabbing at straws to like salvage what was ruined. Like it's just like this is a clusterfuck solo lost movie. How is that even possible? We just got to take what we got. We killed Luke off. We killed Han off. Leia's dead. What the fuck do we do? We're gonna shove Lando and the Emperor in.
yeah, because like no, but a lot of people who hate the prequels will admit that like Ian McDiarmid did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, okay, well,
Well, I mean, even Red Letter Media says like when people say this is a good movie, they only say it because of the Emperor.
yeah. It's just. I don't know. Like it just it's. So like, how much you know the theory that like this is Kathleen Kennedy getting revenge on George Lucas?
Um, Explain.
Okay, so Kathleen Kennedy was one of the finalists to play Leia back when she was an
Mm-hmm.
actress, and there's a theory that this is like her revenge on him.
I think that what happened was is that she was Steven Spielberg's girlfriend,
Right.
and then she just kept her head down for all these years and just moved up from being Steven Spielberg's girlfriend to being like a corporate executive eventually, and then to and because the guy that is the current CEO or the last CEO of Disney said that or one of the higher ups at Disney wrote a memoir recently
Mm-hmm.
and said that when Lucas sold Disney that his understanding would be that he would have right to be a large influence the way that he would be able to reject a novel in like legend in the original series or reject a comic book or reject a video game. He would have final say on the plot of it,
Mm-hmm.
and then under his understanding he would maintain that through the sequels,
Right.
and then he gave control because he personally trusted Kathleen Kennedy
Mm-hmm.
when he signed it off because he thought that because it was a personal agreement that Kathleen Kennedy would allow him to maintain that role. Because this isn't a memoir. This isn't speculation. This has support.
Right.
And that Kathleen Kennedy said that she would, and that when she took over, she immediately pursued a agenda of to be blatant. Her whole agenda is feminism,
Mm-hmm.
and that Luke just felt, or not, why the fuck, George Lucas just felt so spurred by this, and that he's incredibly bitter about it. I don't know if you know this, but George Lucas did not attend the initial screening of the premiere screening of Rise of Skywalker. He wasn't invited.
That is really low.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's like, and this is something I kind of hate about Clown World is they don't really care about making money. Like I wish they were greedy, because if they were more greedy, then they just be like, oh, okay, well, who's the fan base? Like males, what do males want? They want like action. They want hot women. They want like
Let's have like a 2 out of 10 Asian woman and make her the main character in this action movie.
and John Boyega, and let's get like a mediocre looking. I don't know. I don't find Daisy Ridley very attractive.
She's okay.
I
She's
think
nice.
what's her name was much better looking. Felicity Jones.
Oh, okay.
Um, and let's get like I don't know. Like it's just like who are these films supposed to appeal to? Like who is the target audience?
The new audience that's woke.
Woke the
Like,
woke.
fuck you, we'll get better fans. Fuck you who want, like, a nuanced, expanded universe where there's alternate political systems which are functional, other than our liberal democracy, which is flawed and explored. No, we're just going to have them be terrorists that control slaves.
Because, like, the thing to keep in mind about both the Old and New Republic is they aren't really liberal democracies as we would understand them.
Mm-hmm.
They were a loose federation of
They're
republics.
loose, decentralized confederations with a democracy to settle trade disputes, basically.
Yeah, and previously they had an army whose main purpose was to fight external threats. But like you have monarchies, you have hive worlds, you have corporations, you have theocracies. All the people within it are able to maintain their own governmental system, and I think slavery is illegal and invading other planets is illegal, and like just some other basic stuff. But by and large, like Naboo has a no immigration policy, which is like established by Darth Plague, basically implied in Darth Plagueis, and the Republic doesn't care that Naboo doesn't want non-humans moving there.
Well, isn't what's the Mun's homeworld?
Moonalith?
Isn't it Darth Plagueis that they're like extremely
I don't think
xenophobic?
they allow non-moons to go there.
Yeah, they don't allow non-Muse to go there, and that they control the entire finances of the galaxy.
So you're saying they're lizard people?
They're lizard people. I mean, it's incredibly explicit that they're lizard people.
Well, they're the one type, and then the other type are the Tridarians.
Oh,
Um, the Nemoidians are literally China economy strong.
well, have you seen any of the interviews with Mark Hamill before the Last Jedi came out?
Oh yeah, like the
He told people he was one hair away from telling people it's a piece of shit.
no, he like the I think it was something like 20
When
times.
asked, when asked, he would say, "What do you think about it?" And he would just say, "It's the longest movie."
Yeah, it's like 30 minutes. Oh, sorry, just like another thing about Naboo. So, like Naboo, for instance, there's I don't know how many royal families there are. There's like I don't know a dozen or something. The Palpatines are one. The Amidala's are one. There's some other ones, and they elect one of their own to be king or queen for a term. So like, and the Wookiees have a
Here, I'll be back in a second. I gotta go.
okay,
Just. I'll be back in a minute.
and have like a similar system. So like, there's all kinds of different ways of dealing with it. It's also not representation on population. I'm not really sure how representation worked because I know senators represented sectors. Actually, an interesting thing about Alderaan is the Alderaan sector was historically represented by the heir to the throne. So the king or queen would rule the Alderaan sector, and then their galactic representative would be the heir apparent. Oh no, it's not over. He just had to go do something. Um, Actually, let me see here. I have my copy of uh, essential the essential atlas. Let me see because I remember Coruscant is I was gonna say canonically whiter than I thought, but is canonically a lot more human than I thought it was. So let me just bring up Coruscant. Let's see here. The population of Coruscant is 1 trillion, of which 80% are human. Yeah, Coruscant is 80% human. Coruscant has 368 standard days in a year and 24 hours a day. Um, yeah, so there's that. Corellia is kind of cool actually, because in Corellia the shipyards are all in orbit, so most of the planet is actually rural, which is weird because of what happened in Solo. But yeah, Corellia is like almost an entirely rural.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yep.
Um, how many views did you get on your commentary? Because Jimbo says, "I love your commentary for The Force Awakens."
Let me take
Did
a
you get a lot of views for that or something?
I think I got a couple. I'll have to see. What I'm gonna do, and this will be kind of like a. Oh, of course, this got demonetized. What I'm gonna do for a preview, I'm gonna do another fake. You know how I did my fake, like troll 100% confirmed leak thing, and like
Mm-hmm.
half of it wound up being true, even though it was just random shit I came up with off the top of my
Mm-hmm.
head. But I'm gonna do like another one, and it's gonna be there's gonna be like a game coming out called Star Wars Empire Reborn that's gonna have all the cut content from the Rise of Skywalker, and the content's also gonna be released on Disney Plus, and I'm gonna like be 100% confirmed and like see how many people I can fool.
Um, I mean, I haven't seen The Mandalorian yet. I'm using my sister's Disney Plus account on Saturday to watch The Last Jedi. So I'm planning on seeing it. I'm sorry if I'm talking about it without this, because a lot of people are talking about this. Generally, everybody who I've talked to seems to have very positive opinions of that show. So Disney, when they've done stuff on the side, it's been hit and miss, but the general sequel series has been complete garbage, if that makes sense. Because Fallen Order seems to also have very positive reviews as well. Are you going to watch The Mandalorian, or are you
No,
just
I'm
done?
not. I'm just kind of happy that it's over. If a
Mm-hmm.
game comes out that looks good, I might, because I kind of want to play Fallen Order because it
Mm-hmm.
like sounds good or looks interesting.
I know that like there's a woke black female that's the mentor character,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like very off looking when I saw like videos of it. Like it
Mm-hmm.
just looks cringe that way, and I don't want this to be like racist in that sense, especially since YouTube takes stuff down now.
Mm-hmm.
But when they put stuff like that in games and movies now, it's just so transparent.
Well, and the character always sucks, like almost always.
Mm-hmm.
Like no
And
one
they're
did.
always
Was there
like,
anyone who objected or found Lando annoying in the original trilogy?
no, no. I guess people hated him because he killed Han. Because they
Yeah,
thought they killed Han in between the
he
movies.
didn't feel forced though at all.
Yeah, but like that's so forced where you because it's so obviously
Like Admiral Social
transparent and
Justice
forced.
with
Yes,
the pink hair.
Laura Dern.
Yeah, I didn't even know what her name was. It's like I don't know. Okay, yes, but what about Baby Yoda? I really hate Baby Yoda memes. I'm not gonna lie. So, is it Yoda's child, or is like what is the deal with Baby Yoda? Like, who is Baby Yoda?
Other people told me that they're all called Yoda or something.
Oh, okay,
Like every name is Yoda.
okay,
And that's why it's called Baby Yoda, and that it's set after the events of like it's set because all these movies and video games and Rogue One and all that are set just before New Hope. Have you ever noticed that?
right. When is the Mandalorian set?
I think it's set in between Sith and New Hope, but closer to New Hope.
Right.
Here,
I wonder why.
wonder why? Because I've said that a lot. Is that all these extensions like Rebels and Solo and all these video games are making, none of them are set in the prequel or in the sequels. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, like
Oh,
even
I
the
guess I'm wrong. It's set in between The Force Awakens and Return of the Jedi.
um I
It's
don't.
set just after Return of the Jedi, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's pretty close. I don't know if there's like going to be anything set with it. Well, because nothing's developed. How the fuck are you supposed to write a novel within that time period? Also, what the fuck happened with Thrawn? Like, is he dead now or?
Didn't they kill him in Rebels or something?
I don't think he actually died.
Oh, didn't he get killed by space whales or something?
I think he managed to survive, but his fleet gets beaten by space whales. How much
Oh,
of a
okay.
fuck you was that? Also, in that episode,
Wait, did you actually watch the Rebel series or just
No,
watch that?
I just heard about it. Like in that scene, they like one of the big fuck yous was Captain Pelion showed up.
Wait, so he's canon in Disney now?
He just they mentioned him, and then his ship immediately got blown up by the space whales.
That's literally a fuck you.
He was actually like one of my favorite EU characters because
Isn't he like? Doesn't he lead the Grand Alliance against the Fusang Vong or
yeah,
whatever
he does. He
militarily?
beats them well in a back to tank at like age 84. He keeps getting pulled out of retirement. During that battle, he utters the awesomely cheesy, "You may win the occasional victory against this rock, but the Empire will always strike back."
Base.
Let me see what it is in the. Actually, it's funny. Before they retconned it, there was a time period where Pelion was the captain of a ship that Anakin and Ashoka were on, and
Hmm.
Ashoka, and he kept like thought patrolling Ashoka. He
Based.
was just like, put on some fucking clothes. Why do you allow your apprentice to run around dressed that way?
Based. Well, isn't Pelion just as popular as Thrawn as an extended
Maybe. I mean, he
universe
gets a lot of
character?
screen time. I mean, he's ultimately the one who does what Thrawn couldn't and reunites the Empire. Um, and it was kind of his example. I think the most interesting thing about him was he was like 60 or whatever when he met up with Thrawn. And despite being like an old man who was very by the book, he kind of took all the lessons Thrawn taught him to heart. And then by the time of the Thrawn duology, he's like much more cunning and like he's really adopted Thrawn's methods.
Outlook.
Yeah, and just his abilities. And I just find that interesting to have such a like guy who's known
Well,
for
when you because I haven't read through any of this yet, but when you talked about it, is that he comes across as by far one of the most interesting characters to me. Maybe it's just the way that you talk about him.
yeah, I
Because
mean
I've watched that video where you did your character review of him like two or three times.
yeah, well it's interesting just cuz well that once again and it's just that well it's nice to have like an imperial who's like legitimately sympathetic.
Mm-hmm.
Um and who is largely just like a decent person. Um, which Thrawn kind of was. The issue with Thrawn is like supernaturally good at
Mm-hmm.
fighting. So like they had to kind of kill him off somewhere. My head canon is that Palpatine assassinated him.
Well, isn't that kind of the problem with the expanded universe? Is that you have two direct sequels to the original series written simultaneously under the understanding that they would both be one offs, and then they were massive successes. So then people wrote the entire expanded universe without them being um, like without there being anything connecting those two sequels to the
Yeah,
original
although
trilogy.
they've clarified it, so now it actually works really well.
Okay.
Um, So like what happens is okay, so Thrawn dies and then the Imperial ruling council is able to kind of use his example to unite everybody. So they retake Coruscant. And after that happens, um, the Imperial mutiny happens and there's just like a massive war on Coruscant and that's when Palpatine shows up again.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So it does actually like lead in now. So like because they went through and they did like a the essential guide to warfare, which was one of the last books they put out that basically was the timeline. Um, and I mean, once again, there's some issues. It's kind of funny because like they kind of lampshade it. Like they ask Mara, "Why didn't you go back to Palpatine?" And she's like, "I didn't think it was him," or something like that. It's like I don't think I think it was an imposter or something. She really should have gone back to him. So yeah, so Pelion shows up and then dies immediately in the reboot.
In Rebels.
Yeah.
I like how you just call it reboot. Just like instead of just calling like the movie by its name or calling the TV series by its name, you just call it reboot. Like it's all just the reboot.
Oh wait a minute, I think Pelion might be in Thrawn treason. Um, yeah, Pelion also. I think this like when he dies, he's like 94 years old when he gets assassinated.
Oh, he
And
gets assassinated?
yeah,
Is that where like Jason controls his empire or whatever?
yeah, something like that. I think everyone was happy once like the war ended, so that he could be a good guy and again.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the warlords are pretty funny. Dala is really funny. If you ever read any of the books with Dala in it, it's like a because she is like just
So
so.
is she like the good version of Hux then? Because Hux is supposed to be this comedic relief thing in like Last Jedi, and it's just so cringe and awful that they
Um,
take this guy that's supposed to be a villain and try and slapstick him. Like, because Last Jedi doesn't try to make any of the villains intimidating; it tries to make them like laughable and pathetic.
Dala is like maybe the dumbest character in the extended universe. Um, do you know her backstory at all?
No, I don't know
Okay,
that
so
much.
she was Tarkin's mistress.
Mm-hmm.
What someone said that she only got her position as an admiral due to her sleeping with Tarkin. That man was put into a spacesuit and left to orbit around a planet with his comlink open as the gravity slowly sucked him in. Um, so she was in command of the Maw, which is the facility where the Death Star was developed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so she's just been isolated there, and she didn't even know Palpatine died. And like she has like 4 Star Destroyers, and she's like, I'm gonna take down the New Republic by myself. And she like immediately like due to her incompetence gets all 4 of them destroyed like really quick. And then like she goes to the deep core where all the warlords are fighting, and she's like has a peace conference with all of the warlords, and she fucks it up because she's Dala and she fucks everything up. So then she just like fuck it and just gasses all of them. Which ironically,
Rip.
her inability to have a successful peace conference wound up like working. Then she like fucks up. She gets her like super star destroyer blown up in like some retarded way. I think a Jedi sneaks on board and disables the engine. The really funny thing is, okay, so near towards the end of the Galactic Civil War, Pelion forms the Imperial Remnant, and he's actually wins a couple battles against the New Republic. And I mean, the Empire is still a shell of its former self, but he might look it's looking
He's
like he
able to maintain its existence through
yeah
a bunch of battles at the end of the war
yeah he retook
to have a position to negotiate.
yeah he took Arinda, which was an important planet. He actually had won a couple minor wars. So his eventual plan was to negotiate from a position of strength. So the Moffs and Dala were like, we can't do this. We don't want to win. We want to LARP. So Dala like put together like a bunch of just like really shitty ships in the deep core and started a war. And Pelion was actually winning on his front, but she lost her entire fleet in the first battle without inflicting any losses on the New Republic, and then pieced out. And Pelion was left holding the bag, and he got like his fucking ass handed to him, and the Empire got reduced to virtually nothing. They lost like 80% of their remaining territory. Like Dala just keeps coming back. Like at one point she becomes somehow head of state for the galaxy, and her administration is so incompetent.
So she's like the Justin Trudeau of like the Empire.
Yeah, her administration is so corrupt and incompetent that they eliminate the position of head of state and replace it with a triumvirate because they don't want anyone to rule like her again. She also brings in affirmative action and requires half of all Moths to be female.
So she was like she predated Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah. Dala is referred to as being like the ultimate karma Houdini.
What's a karma Houdini?
It's someone who somehow gets out of like none of the things they do come back to bite them in the ass.
Oh.
Like they don't get their comeuppance at all.
So she doesn't die in a horrible way. She just dies like naturally or something.
No, she becomes the leader of the galaxy. She gets elected. Like head of I don't fucking know. It's Dala. Dala's like a meme. If you look at the entry about her on TV tropes, it's really funny. But yeah, no, but
are we kind of circling the wagons at this point?
Yeah.
Or is there anything else to say?
No, I think that's good. I think we covered just about everything.
I mean, this is something that me and Argent talk about a lot as friends. I would say that you're a much bigger fan, just on light of how many of these books and stuff you've read. But I mean, what?
Oh, that's partially just because I used to commute like 3 hours a day, so I didn't have much else to do.
Oh yeah, I just never got around to it. I mean, I always liked it, but it wasn't. I don't like. There's other people I know. Like I don't know. Like Classical Theist is one of the biggest Star Wars fans I've ever met.
Oh really? I didn't know that. Actually.
Oh, he's completely like he's seen New Hope to the point that he knows the script from heart. He could say every line of dialogue through the entire movie back to back to back for an hour or something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I just want to talk about it personally. I think the appeal of the series is that it's something that that is extremely approachable, even to like a 5-year-old child, at least the original movies, and can be engaging to the most cynical person that's seen everything. That there's so much depth and it's very approachable. I think that's the strength of the series.
I think also that it's science fantasy and it's not hard sci-fi at all. I think it just makes it a lot more palatable. That they don't really care that much about like sciencey stuff, because that can really bog shit down. Like that's one of the problems with Star Trek. Is just things get bogged down like crazy.
Well, I've noticed is that Star Trek hasn't jumped generations. So it seems like it jumped generations from boomers to Xers, but I don't know any millennials that like Star Trek. Like when I was growing up, every guy I knew liked Star Wars, and I think it's jumped to the Xers. But or not to the Xers, to the Zoomers, but I don't know any millennials that like Star Trek.
No.
So I think it's been very successful if you compare those two franchises together. And I think another thing is just how unified Lucasfilm was able to make its expanded universe. Because if you compare the expanded universe of Star Wars to the expanded universe of Aliens, Aliens is just complete and total chaos. The Aliens expanded universe is just total chaos. There's so much stuff. In it? No, there's probably as much comic books to that as there is the Star Wars, and there's maybe like really? Yeah, there's maybe like 20 to 40 books. Like it's actually a huge expanded universe, or not. It's like one of the bigger It's not as big as Star Wars and Star Trek, but it's definitely one of the bigger series to be multimedia. It's
Right.
probably the third biggest. I guess the only thing that could be a third would be Halo, but I think it's bigger than Halo.
Yeah. Um,
Here.
I Halo's something I want to see, like, because I've only read one of the books. I kind of want to do some more Halo lore stuff because it's something I feel that they've really developed a lot over time. Like, it wasn't originally like it, but it's,
I think Fall of Reach was published before the first game came out.
oh, was it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because Fall of Reach was like, I actually really enjoyed that book. I thought it was pretty good. Um, let's see.
Okay. Okay, so okay.
Was there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think we're doing good. I think it would be if you count Alien versus Predator, it would be into like 40, 50 expanded universe books.
Yeah, you're right. I hadn't realized that Fall of Reach came. Yeah, Fall of Reach came out before.
Yep.
That's fascinating. Well, once again, that's them putting in the effort, like to try to make something.
Unlike Disney.
Yeah, like Disney. I think one thing you can say about the Star Wars expanded universe, and maybe this is a good thing to end on, um,
Mm-hmm.
is by and large it was made by people who I think really liked what they were doing and
Mm-hmm.
were having fun. Like, even if a lot of the books, like the Children of the Jedi series, maybe weren't that good, not that much of it really felt like people who were making shit just to like take a paycheck, or like it didn't feel like it, like a lot of it was kind of pulpy maybe, but it wasn't like the soulless focus group produced. Although the funny thing is, even though it's focus group produced, it still doesn't really like appeal to anybody.
I'm gonna do this just because I think it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say what I think the best to the worst movies are.
Sure.
Okay, so, or I guess I'll start with worst. I haven't seen Solo, but I'm going to guess where I think it would be. So, Last Jedi is the worst, then Force Awakens, then Solo, then Rise of Skywalker, then Phantom Menace, then Rogue One, Attack of the Clones, um, The Empire Strikes Back, uh, Revenge of the Sith, The Return of the Jedi, and New Hope. I would
Oh,
say New Hope is by far the best because it's self-contained,
mm-hmm.
so it's infinitely rewatchable for me.
Right.
Now,
Uh,
what's your list?
um, God, this is hard. Uh, The Rise of Skywalker, The Force Awakens, uh, Solo, The Last Jedi, um, Rogue One, um, then Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, um, Return of the Jedi, A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, and Revenge of the Sith is my favorite.
Okay, that makes
I think
sense.
is how I go. A New Hope is very difficult for me to place.
Because of how much it can stand on its own, because I can, it doesn't. If I because I people say Empire Strikes Back is the best, but I don't think so because it is the one to me that stands on its own the least of all the original six movies.
Mm-hmm.
It just is bookended on both sides by the other two movies. So if I want to watch it, I want to watch all three of them back to back to back, and I can watch Return of the Jedi and New Hope by themselves
I
because they have conclusions.
with Return of the Jedi, I kind of feel like it has the best and worst moments of the trilogy.
I think the best moment of the entire series is the redemption of
Yeah.
Vader. I don't think you can really argue against that, but I think that there's some silly stuff in it.
But like I thought the sand skiff scene was really good.
Hmm.
That was cool. Parts of the Battle of Endor is pretty cool. I don't know. Like, there's a lot of neat stuff in it, but there's also just a lot of like, it is kind of one of the criticisms is it's lazy to have a second Death Star.
Yeah, well, it's lazy to have Palpatine come back.
Yeah.
So, also, I don't think like the Death Star makes sense though.
Well, because
From
it was a trap.
yeah, but the Death Star makes sense if you don't consider it as just like a movie as a movie and ideas as ideas.
Uh huh.
If you consider it what would have occurred in real life if I was the Emperor,
Hmm.
well, the Death Star killed more people than died on it with Alderaan, right?
Yeah.
So why wouldn't I just build a better Death Star?
Hmm.
That seems to be a pretty successful
I mean,
strategy.
it did what it was supposed to do.
Yeah. So from like a military standpoint or a political standpoint, it makes sense.
Hmm. Okay, so I think that's good. Thanks a lot for coming on, man. That was a really fun stream.
Oh yeah. Well, I haven't said this in a while, but everybody should go out and get No Chance.
Hmm.
I don't know how much you've talked about it, but No Chance is a very good book, and everybody should go out there and read it.
Thank you very much, man. I might try to. We'll see. Maybe we could have another stream later this week about it. I gotta have to do some reading about the Iran Iraq
Situation.
stuff. But people
Yeah.
have been like messaging me nonstop to have you on to talk about that. I'm not sure how knowledgeable you are.
The thing is that I don't want to make anything that's going to be um, when I make a video or I try to come on something like this, because I mean, it's on your channel because you have more subscribers, but I think for most of these streams, we're just as much the creators or have the idea in it
Uh huh.
to make it. And it's whenever I make something, I don't want it to be worthless the next day after I make it.
Right.
Because when you're talking about Iran and Iraq and what's going on right now, something could happen tomorrow to make what we just made irrelevant.
Yeah, I understand.
Um, but a lot of people, I mean, I want to do it because I really do think that this is like the Cuban Missile Crisis right now. I'm unironically have no idea what's going to happen, and I'm very scared.
Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, thanks for coming on. Have a good night, everybody. God bless, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.